Welcome back. We've got one more segment on Within Reason with Bob Kerrigan and Bill Rankin. Bob is away. I'm Bill Rankin. And with me is Rick Outzen, who is the editor of the Pensacola Independent News, which I'm sure you've seen around town. If you see it, pick it up, because they do some actual reporting. It's not like the penny saver where your people are just selling their old furniture. We got probably just enough time for this. There was a sense around town not too long ago that out to the east, Destin was prospering and they were doing great, and Mobile was attracting all this industry. And Pensacola was sitting here kind of slowly deflating.
Right.
What's your take on the economic situation, and any predictions you've got would be fun to listen to too?
Well, I think accurately in 2009, the paper, we were describing Pensacola as the donut, that we were the hole in the donut, and everything was happening in Mobile, and everything was happening in Okaloosa County. And things have gradually started to change, and I think the city and the county and the chamber changed their focus on economic development. Really, the chamber completely changed its leadership, brought in people that were like Jim Heiser and Scott Luth, who are trained economic development people. They had Vision 2015 to create 3,000 new jobs in the area over the next 5 years. They raised $6 million for that initiative, and they really made that a big focus. The city passed a charter in 2009 for a strong mayor. With that being really part of it, was that we would have a leader that could put together the deals to bring employers into Pensacola proper, to maybe do something with the Port of Pensacola.
Any successes to report?
Yes, yeah, and they made a lot of initial moves. They have some small successes, but they've got a lot in the iron in talking to the chamber and in talking to the city and to the county. There's several big prospects that one's tied to the port and others tied to the airport that could be significant contributors to what's going on here. And then the move of Navy Federal coming to the area has been huge. So
that's exactly the kind of thing you want, this nice, clean
It really
job.
is. So,
yeah.
and now we've got the next big player. What's on the horizon is Airbus is building a facility in Mobile. Everyone from New Orleans to Panama City is vying for the suppliers of that facility.
Yeah.
Who can supply the parts? Who can be the distribution? The workers, welders, all the things. So everyone's trying to vie for that. And in that mix, what we're seeing now, and this is going to be what I want to see happen the next year that we're going to watch closely, is can these three entities, the city of Pensacola, the mayor, the chamber, and the county commission, play well together? Can all three of them, can someone take lead and the other two follow, and can they switch those roles based on what is best for the community? Gene Valentino is the incoming chairman for the county commission. He has made economic development his big interest. He's flown to Germany to meet with Airbus suppliers. And they have somewhere between $100 million and $200 million of restore funds coming to the county, that's the BP fine money, those fines. And if that all happens, and it's still kind of hard to imagine it will, but if it all comes together, then they're going to have a lot of money to work with. And it's frightening in a way. Is it a little scary
that
this
county commission, these dysfunctional favor traders, is going to be running a lot of money? Well, I don't think that's unfair.
Well, I have high hopes for the two new incoming county commissioners, Steve Berry and Lumen May. I think that they're the Gen Xers. They're bright. They're aggressive. They care about the community as a whole.
And Grover seems like an adult.
And Grover needs support. And hopefully those three will band together. But when we have all these three entities, the Commissioner Valentino still would like to see an independent economic development authority that would work under the county commission and take it away from the city and the chamber. And that will be, if he stays on that course, there's going to be more butting heads.
We'll have a turf battle.
We really will.
Yeah.
And right now, everyone's playing well together. The mayor is by far the best closer you could have when it comes to meeting with the executives of these corporations, and he has. The city has land. We have a tech park that has nothing happening on it.
Yeah, nothing going on there.
There's opportunities there. The city has the biggest resources as far as the airport and the port. Yeah. What the county has is land. And there is a sector plan being put together in the Beulah area that in a mythical world, whether it ever happens or not, where they can bring in rail and right there at the interstate, and that it would be
some kind of an industrial park.
A high, not a high tech, but a very clean industrial park that would work with Airbus. I think that the only thing holding us back, I think, or the things that will hold us back, is the inability for us to get along. That the politicians, we get caught up too much in egos too quickly. And then the other thing that will hurt us is, I think, our education system. Public schools, we still are struggling to educate our entire population. And I think that can be a negative for someone.
What's the fix there? I mean, the parents have to have a lot. We're turning out a lot of kids who come out of homes that never have books. The kids don't have encouragement, and I believe that's a big part of the problem. Look in the mirror, voters. How are we going to make our education system better? Well,
there are a couple problems that we've got with the education system. I think one is that the system that we have now has for generations had difficulty teaching the minorities. We have, you look at the graduation rate for African-American students, it's just a little bit over 50%. 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4, 1 out of 3 cannot read on grade level. They have, but at the same time, we have less than 80% of the teachers are African-American or minorities. We have about 20%. I think 85% of our teachers and principals are white. We have the administration is becoming whiter every year because they're not developing African American leaders and minority leaders to work their way up the system.
And certainly not for lack of trying to develop. They want to have African American teachers and males in the classroom, right? But they just can't make it happen.
I'm not going to give them that excuse. I'm not going to. I'm less tolerant than you. It's. You achieve what you set out to achieve. If you set the goal and you've rigorously worked the goal, it can happen. It's not that they don't have good PhDs and master holders inside the school system that are as good as the teachers, as the white teachers and the white principals that are being brought in. We're going to have to deal with that, and I think we're going to have to deal with it on a major level. And I'm not going to let go of that one. That one, I just see it.
It's important. It's the future. I think diversity is just totally overblown. But in this area, where you want the kids to see, you want elementary school kids, the black elementary school kids, to go in and see a black male teacher who's a good role model, that would mean a lot. That's something where race does matter. Because I think race matters too much in this country generally. We're judging people based on your racial group. You're a representative of your race for diversity rather than an individual. But here, it would be really nice to have some role models who look like the kids.
Well, and what's happened, and there are a lot of reasons for it, but the schools that the school district continues to close are the schools in the black neighborhoods. Yeah. So the kids in the black neighborhoods are being bused away from their families. I mean, it used to be, and I've talked to people that went to Spencer Bibbs and went to A.A. Dixon when it was an elementary school, and went to Warrington Middle School, and to Ellie Nestor and Hallmark, and yes, those facilities had aged. Yeah. But what happened was the lunch ladies knew them. Yeah. The teachers knew them.
But how are they performing? Were the kids coming out of there doing well on standardized tests? That's an important thing to look at.
So what we do, they weren't. So what we do, rather than investing more resources into those schools, we encourage those schools to go those students to go to other schools.
Yeah.
So we, rather than dealing with the problem at Spencer Bibbs, we encourage the kids to go elsewhere. The enrollment goes down. We don't have to fix the problem. We just spread it out over the district.
Yeah.
Then we close the school. Another school's closed in a black neighborhood. Their property values go down. They're having to ride the bus to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
While it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that's driving down property values in the poor in our poorest neighborhoods and creating more of a
poverty,
more of a disconnect between education and families and education and community. And I know we got way off on that subject. But,
no, that's a good subject because it's an important subject. But there was a time in this country, and people were up in arms about it. Federal judges said, we're going to bust these kids around to get the racial mix we want in the schools.
But it was done equitably. You bust white and you bust
well,
black.
That's right. You bust the white kids.
You bust everybody.
Yeah.
And
So
it wasn't necessarily,
right,
classic example that we have right now, and this will upset a lot of people, but you have AK Suter. AK Suter is a neighborhood school in a white community, white neighborhood over off Scenic Highway or Cervantes. Its attendance zone for kids is 199 kids in that attendance zone. They're building a $20 million school there. They're gonna keep that school and go up and put $20 million into that school in a white neighborhood.
They're going to broaden out the attendance zone and get some of the...
Well, what they're profiting from is the closures by not helping upgrade the schools in the black neighborhood. They're getting a lot of flight into the district of people who live outside the district. So they're taking a piece of property that isn't very big and having to build up and costing more to build that school when the need for a new school is in the west side of town where they have more trailers, they have more kids in horrible situations.
And so that $20 million is not going to benefit the minority kids.
But it just so happens that in that district, the school board member was running for re-election. So the superintendent made sure that she didn't have to worry about an opponent by being sure that she got a new school in her district.
Oh, that is
that's the way the politics
interesting.
work.
Yeah, that's politics.
It is.
And the genius of this country, the founding fathers understood that we're not going to be governed by angels, and you need to have checks and balances, and you needed to have a free press, and all of that. What recommendations do you have for the citizens? I mean, don't we bring this on ourselves? Don't we get the government we deserve in a democracy?
Well, and I think that's an accurate statement. Is what happens in Pensacola and Escambia County is what we permit, we promote. If we don't say that we are upset about the firing of a county administrator and the hiring of someone that wasn't popular, who couldn't get more than 600 votes when he spent over $60,000, if you don't say anything, this is what you get. If you want to see the city council continue fighting with the mayor and council members going off on their own agendas, then if you say nothing, it will continue to happen. We get the government that we allow to happen. The politicians, particularly in this area, they can be influenced by crowds coming to see them. It's happened over and over again. The voters, when the voters show up and say no more, then no more will happen. And that is what's got to happen. We saw some of it in this election. We saw I think some great new politicians elected. Lumen May is definitely someone that we have been a big supporter of. Young, aggressive, a consensus builder who doesn't act one way when he's in front of the African American crowd, and if he's in front of a white crowd, he's the same person everywhere. We saw Gerald Wingate upset John Geralds on the Pensacola City Council, that same group of young ministers, of young progressive African Americans fighting to have a say. So there's hope there. But what happens in that council and what happens in the county commission happens because you don't speak out. And it gets harder and harder for them to do things when they know you're watching them and when they know that you come back and you question them. Your letters, your emails make a difference. I've watched it make a difference. And all we do is chronicle. All we can do is try to connect the dots. I can't. It is. There's some big frustrating moments for me when I see things happening a certain way, and there's nothing I can do to stop it except tell you that it's going to happen.
Right. And if you're not listening, if we're not listening or reading and acting, if we're disengaged, if we're watching Dancing with the Stars, and of course people are busy. I mean, it's not like when I grew up. Mommy stayed home in my house, but these days everybody's working.
Right. Well, everyone, you know, the American dream requires a lot of people working. I think the average household, based on the average income, median income in Pensacola, for someone to own a house or rent a nice apartment, you have to have 3 adults working in that house to be able to afford it for the way the average income is in this place.
Yeah.
So,
why are we so poor?
Yeah.
Why is this? I mean, our county is this true? The 17th poorest large county in the country, one of the poorest counties, and this includes some of these little bitty rural counties. One of the poorest counties in the state.
Well,
why is that?
I think, you know, I will go back and point a finger. I think education, and we still are dealing with racial disparities. We've not addressed it in this community. How that we can build a strong middle class across all the spectrum, for all the nationalities and ethnic groups. We haven't been successful in doing that. And I think until we do that, until we deal with these disparities and get the same level of services on the east side of town as we have on the west side, on the west side of town as we have on the east side, and that we care as much about a school in the African American neighborhood as we do in an all-white neighborhood. Until we do those things, we're going to always be battling poverty.
That's great. We have been very pleased to host Rick Outzen, who is the editor of the Pensacola Independent News and the author of Rick's blog. Check this stuff out. It's good reporting. We really appreciate you being here.
Well,
we appreciate you watching. Come back next week for more Within Reason. Good night.